Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, manager tries to crack down on dress code, I respond by wearing yoga pants to work. Being unprofessional. The time my dispatcher tried to micromanage me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Manager tries to crack down on dress code, I respond by wearing yoga pants to work. So I 34M used to work at a popular convenience store, really popular with a cult-like following, chain years ago. I've always been a bit of a clown but very good at following rules while doing so. After working there a few years and seeing managers come and go, we got in a new woman who was just miserable and really wanted to flex her authority. Shortly after she started, she posted the uniform portion of the handbook in the break room and started complaining about people's attire, but clearly took the biggest issue with girls wearing yoga pants. So me being the petty rule follower, I combed through the policy and noticed some things in the wording. The rules stated that yoga pants are allowed as long as the ankles flared, and there was no gender designation for these articles. Malicious Compliance, I and a friend went to Walmart after work and bought me a couple pairs of flared yoga pants. Now mind you, I'm not a huge guy, but I am chubby and have a big beard. I began wearing them almost every day I worked, and especially if she was working. This infuriated her. I would regularly hear her protests and even saw her go to the AGM and GM. Their response was always, "I can't say anything, he's in dress code L." This continued for a month tops before she requested a transfer. But what made it even more fun was trolling weird pervert customers. They would stand at the deli area and gawk at the young ladies working, especially if they were bent over the hot food table. When I would notice this, I would sidle over beside them and give the boys two butts to look at before whipping my head around and making eye contact with them. The level of disgust on their faces filled my heart with joy. Being unprofessional. Many years ago, I was working a temporary to permanent role for a company I referred to as crooks, thieves, and goons. When the time came to make me a permanent employee, they wanted to extend my 3-month contract by 1 month, as I had apparently made disparaging comments about other members of the service delivery team. I couldn't get them to say what comments, or about who, or when, but I was supposed to do better. When my extension was ending, my team had a new manager, the 6th in 4 months, so when I asked the head dude in the main office about it, he said I'd get another extension so my new manager could better evaluate my performance. On with the tale. My contract ended on Thursday, and I had not received either the promised extension to my temporary contract or a contract converting me to full-time. So I filled out my timesheet for the week and took it into my manager's office. "Manager, what's this? Timesheets aren't due until tomorrow." "Me, today is the last day of my contract. I can't come in tomorrow." "Manager, so you're quitting?" "Me, no, my contract ends today, so I'm no longer working here." "Manager, you're being very unprofessional about this." "Me, no, if you can get me an extension to my contract, or a new contract, I'll be happy to come back." "Manager, but you're quitting." "Me, no, my contract expires today." "Manager, you're being very unprofessional about this." Etc. Around and around about how unprofessional I was because I wouldn't work without a contract. It ended with him saying, "You'll never work for this company again," and I haven't. The time my dispatcher tried to micromanage me. So, this happened about 8 years ago. I'm a CDL truck driver. That being said, we have certain rules we have to follow, such as 11 hours max drive time a day, 14-hour max of on duty a day, then a 14-hour clock that ticks down from the second you leave off duty, your sleep or birth status. Then there's also company policies such as we are supposed to start driving once our 10-hour break is up. This will become very relevant later on. Now, I was always on time with my deliveries, never had any issues when it came to that. There was one trip I was on. I went from somewhere in California to some construction site in Indiana. I had plenty of time to do the trip and be early as I usually was. So the night before my delivery appointment, I parked at a truck stop roughly 30 miles away. I gave myself 2 hours in the morning to get there and still be an hour early. I anticipated traffic, but what I didn't anticipate was nature's urgent calling. I ended up being 30 minutes late due to the combination of those two things. My dispatcher missed me, upset that I was late. I explained what happened, then she gave me grief because I was late and had been off duty for 14 hours total, and company policy says I'm required to start driving after my 10-hour break. I asked her not to micromanage me, and she responded with she was going to put a service violation on my report. I told her go ahead and I'll be following and company rules to the T to avoid any future issues. Now, when CDL driving, anything you do in the truck is supposed to be logged as on duty or driving. I hauled flatbeds. I was responsible for securing my loads and tarping them. That can take on average anywhere from 45 minutes to sometimes 2 hours. Almost all drivers only log about 30 minutes though, saves time on our 70-hour clock, myself included. We also only log about 30 minutes on duty for loading and unloading, then go into off-duty status, always takes over an hour minimum to get loaded or unloaded. The 10-hour breaks are required to reset your 11-hour drive time and 14-hour daily clock. If you're off duty for 9.5 hours and go on duty again, you have to restart your 10-hour break. I was in the habit of always parking as close to my delivery as possible, and I ran my truck so I was parked by 5 or 6 in the afternoon. That week, if I parked 10 miles from the customer, and I had a 9 a.m. unload time, I'd drive to the customer as soon as my 10-hour break was up. About 4 a.m. I'd head 10 miles down the road for a 9 a.m. unload. I'd go off duty at 9. I'd go back on duty to log the entire unload time. My dispatcher missed me asking why I went so early to the customer, and I responded back with the company policy. She wasn't happy because that severely limited how many miles I could go for that day. I continued this process of maliciously going on duty for the most mundane things, being extremely early, and in general, destroying my 70-hour work clock with a bunch of senseless on-duty time that, per company policy, was required to be logged even though it's like an unwritten rule to just log 30 minutes and go off duty to preserve your clock. I usually average 2,500 miles a week. That week, I barely got 1,100 miles because I was consistently running out of time on my 14-hour clock. Every time my dispatcher fussed at me, I cited the company policy or a rule relevant to why I had gone on duty at whatever time. She never said a word to me again about how I run the truck. Sorry for the long read. I tried to shorten it, lol. Edit tried to make OT easier to read and fix the typos from the original. Also, didn't take 1.5 hours just for the bathroom. There happened to be a severe accident that made traffic significantly worse, plus it takes time to get parked at a truck stop. The combination of having to find a parking spot, get backed in, then the accident made it take too long. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.